Old School RuneScape is adding Araxxor from RS3. This is not a backport like Next was, but an entirely new Slayer boss using similar assets. I was so excited, but after hearing it wouldn't be the same Araxxor, I was pretty disappointed. Araxxor was one of the toughest bosses, being a 5 to 10 minute fight when released. Araxxor dropped a ton of BIS weapons, including Scythe for RS3. They've decided not to take Araxxor in the same direction for Osrs. Araxxor will be a 92 Slayer boss instead, drawing comparison to Hydra. They directly stated in the blog this fight is not as difficult as Awakened bosses or Colosseum. I actually fought Araxxor back when I played RS3 quite a bit. I would expect at least some mechanics to return to the Slayer fight. He was a multi-phase boss fight with multiple paths to choose with a differing second phase based on your choice. Which path you chose changes which rare drops you received should you roll one. It was revealed in the feedback portion at the bottom of the blog that the Halberd, which we'll get to, is dropped in pieces, so it wouldn't surprise me if we had some choice in how the boss fight plays out for different pieces of the Halberd. Araxxor had quite a few unique mechanics. In general, he had 4 total phases with a finale with Araxxor, another big spider, dropping down and devouring Araxxor for a true final boss fight, which felt like a mix of Corp and P3 Verzik. One obvious mechanic that plays into the new Halberd special attack is that one phase has an acid pool, where he needed to be lured into standing within said pool to accumulate acid, and then lured to a ramp to drip acid onto it, destroying it, allowing you to advance to the next phase. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw this mechanic return. Araxxor was a fairly terrifying fight for hardcore Iron Men as well, as he would occasionally spawn a mirrorback spider on certain phases, causing Araxxor to return 100% of damage if not dealt with properly. The blog stated this would primarily be a melee fight, and that there would be some kind of choice system where you could smash eggs for a slower, easier time, or deal with these minions hatching, which would also speed up the fight somehow. This actually sounds quite interesting, and a way to balance difficulty if they want this boss to appeal to all skill levels of player. With it being a Slayer boss, I hope they don't gut out the interesting pieces of the fight just to water it down for mid-level content. Let's talk about the rewards. The least interesting reward, but still fairly useful, is the Araxxite Venom Gland. This is a kind of strange item on its own. It hurts you for 4 venom damage when you eat it, but gives 20 seconds of venom immunity. They state this will likely be used to increase trip lengths. These are also how you will create extended anti-venom plus potions, which give a ridiculous 6 minutes of venom immunity. No longer will you be venomed by cursed baboons towards the end of Monkey Room. These aren't insanely useful, but they're solid anywhere you need anti-venom, Vorkath, Zulrah, etc. Arania boots are next. These are likely only useful at Araxxor himself. Very weak hybrid stats, similar to Brimstone boots, but they provide immunity to a web-based spider attack every 10 seconds. They stated these will work at Verzik, Venenatis, and Sarachnis. Will you use these at any of these locations? Probably not. They are extremely weak and niche, even for the content they are proposed for. The Noxious Halberd is the next addition. It's mediocre at best, and one of the biggest disappointments. This is a fairly powerful 5-tick halberd with 142 strength and 132 slash bonus. Now those numbers sound big and nasty, but in reality it sits between Tent Whip and Sail Door for DPS. I'm showing a bunch of calcs on screen. I checked at Vardorvis and Tob. Basically, this thing is a Sail Door with extra range. The halberd inflicts venom with a 33% chance to proc, increasing to 50% with the Serp Helm. It also has a useless special attack that for 60% of your spec meter will cure your current venom/poison status and increase your next attack's damage/accuracy by the percent of the poison damage. So if you're going to be hit at 20 the next time venom goes off, the special attack will wipe that and then deal 20% more damage and accuracy. Pairing this with Serp likely means you won't get poisoned at all, making this weapon a little contradicting on what it's trying to achieve. There's not a single boss in the game that is not immune to venom, so at most, venom on a weapon adds flavor. The special attack is maybe 5 times worse than a single Voidwaker even in the best of circumstances, and requires even more spec energy to use. If the idea is to use this to cure poison on strange account builds, I think reducing the spec cost to around 25% to keep it usable would make a lot of sense. Even in this case, it would not be a good spec. Does the 1 tile extra range help anyway then? You could do P2 without Verzik walking. Yay. There are suggestions in the blog where P2 and avoiding burning teammates at Ulm, but I'm not seeing it. This could be used for early hits on Bloat in some cases, but that is extremely minor. There might be really weird cases where something uses projectiles and melee, but you want to melee it without taking the melee attacks, but I can't think of any that are relevant. In the feedback below the post, Jagex stated that the halberd drops in pieces, hopefully not as rare as something like a Soul Reaper axe. Finally is the Amulet of Rancor. This is simply an upgraded torture. This gets an extra 2 strength and 5 accuracy bonus for all styles. I've actually been calling for a buff to torture for a long time to actually compete with Bloodfury, so this is welcome. But I do have some complaints. Rancor is still too weak to actually compete with Bloodfury. You can see it's 1 max hit for Fang over Bloodfury, but that accuracy does matter a lot against a 500 Kefri. The majority of the time, it's around what you're seeing here, 3% better than Bloodfury. Ulm with Lance is about 3% better. Verzik P3 in mid-level gear is about 3% better. Finally, here's a max melee scythe with Rancor versus Bloodfury at Soul, under 2% better. Now, this line of thought is from my live stream, where there's been a lot of discussion about how OP Bloodfury is and how it needs a nerf, which I definitely agree, it's too strong. The problem, though, is that melee as a style receiving a strong nerf could be harmful because it's already not the most prevalent style at most content. If Torture is upgraded enough through buff or attachment, then Bloodfury, it turns Bloodfury into more of an expensive tool to be used for learning content, and this new Rancor amulet as the competent player's best option. I took Torture into a spreadsheet on stream and checked the amount of strength bonus required to get Scythe 2 max hits consistently, and that number turned out to be plus 16 total. If you don't know, Scythe gets extra bonus max hits to its additional splats every 2 and 4 max hits. Currently, in max gear with standard potions, Scythe has a base max hit of 50, for a total max hit of 87. If it maxes 51, which it does with the new Rancor amulet, it gains no bonus max hits and maxes 88. Now, if it manages to get up to 52 max hit, however, Scythe suddenly jumps to a 91 max hit, which is a massive boost. If this new amulet had plus 16, it would consistently gain plus 2 max, but it also would future-proof any items they add, meaning no matter the current max hit of Scythe, the plus 16 Rancor would consistently be 2 higher max hit than Bloodfury and give a minimum of plus 3 max hits. I did a whole bunch of calcs with Rancor amulet being a plus 16 and found this. At minimum, it is 5% better than Bloodfury, and at best, it can be 7% better. Not only this, it increases Fang max hit by 2 in max without a ring, where you typically wear Lightbearer, meaning even for Fang, where strength bonus usually isn't a huge boost, it also is 5% better. P3 Verzik is 5.5% better in max. Ulm is 6.2% better. Baba 5.1%. I also checked for other weapons just to see. For Verzik P2 in mid-level gear, it's a 6.8% DPS increase with 2 max hits. The current Rancor is 1.5% to 3% better, which is just simply not enough for anyone to be putting the Bloodfury down. However, at 5 to 7%, Bloodfury would look a lot less worthwhile. With my proposed Rancor amulet increase, Bloodfury is something that would either be not used if you know what you are doing, used as a switch in some cases where you really need HP, I'm thinking Colosseum, and camped in locations where you truly desperately need that HP. Solo Tob comes to mind. It would not be completely removed or nullified, but its position as the melee amulet would suddenly be shifted into the weaker utility amulet. If the concern is that this is far too strong for melee, or this powerful of an item shouldn't come from this boss, they can always give a component somewhere that combines with the amulet to upgrade it into this Gnomonkey amulet. Nightmare or Tob both work well for a drop that could be attached to the amulet to get it to this power level. This is definitely too powerful of drop to everyone who can kill the Slayer boss, but as a raid drop, I don't think it would be broken for melee as a whole, as long as it is rare and somewhat difficult to obtain. We just nerfed a cult for being too strong and from a Slayer monster, so it's off-putting and weird that we're giving a Slayer boss a proposed Abyss melee amulet. Regardless, this absolutely would remove Bloodfury's Stranglehold on the melee style, and require some more intelligent play that will not be backed up by ridiculous amounts of healing whenever you attack. Overall, I do wish Araxxor was that truly difficult fight he was back in RS3, and was a nightmare level encounter. I still have high hopes that he's at least a bit more interesting than something like Hydra, and I really hope they consider improving the strength on the Rancor amulet to crush Bloodfury. Araxxor was some of the most fun I had with RS3 PVM way back in the day, and they have loads of opportunities to bring back some of the really cool mechanics. That's the end of the video. Leave a like if you liked it, and/or subscribe. Thanks, guys.